Hello, hello. Is this thing on? What's up, landlords? Renee here, gonna do my weekly landlording live pregame. Give me a second. Let me turn on my Zoom and stuff. I'll be right back. Let's see what we got.
Recording in progress.
All right, so today I'm just going to talk about some stuff that I'm working on, and it's about, like kind of like a landlord helper app, like a landlord chat bot. And it's not for helping the tenant, it's more for helping the DIY landlord, because I like DIY landlording and I want to help landlords. And it's kind of weird, and I'm always thinking of ideas of like, how can I be better at, doing this? That's how I came up with the Forever Landlording. I kind of like pray and meditate for 15 minutes, sit still, and I'm pondering and thinking like, hey, tell me all these answers, help me. What do I, I'm trying to understand this. It's my passion. I'm committed to this forever. And then I came up with the idea, Forever Landlord. And then I go look and find nobody has that domain. I'm like, what the heck? And then I go look over here on like Facebook and Instagram and X, Twitter. Nobody has Forever Landlord. I'm like, what the heck? That's impossible, because I've looked for domains and I realize they're very difficult. So I'm like, that's awesome. So along those lines of like, how can I be the best DIY landlord helper? I'm coming along and thinking about like, okay, AI, and like, instead of asking questions to AIs and getting generic responses, I want to train a specific AI agent to answer with my 10 years of experience and everything I'm gathering when I'm always online and, scraping and all that stuff. And I think what I'll do is, while we wait and see if anybody jumps into the school today, I'll just share a little bit more of my progress towards building out my Airtable before I even get to the agent. Because from my research, I understand I want to train it, but before I get into actually making it, I got an XAI API, and I started going down that rabbit hole a little bit. I'm like, whoa, this is really big. And I know how to spin up my own servers on DigitalOcean, but then it's like, all right, which server's best? And I have my own forms to train this agent. Then I'm like, all right, well, where's the first place to start? And I kept running into this Airtable thing, and I never even knew about it. It's like a really fancy automation type of Excel or Google Sheet. It's really cool because you make this thing do all kinds of stuff, and I got lots to learn. I've been learning about it, but let me see if I can share my screen. Is this gonna work? No. Well, I'd like me to come in there. Okay, let's see. How does this look? Oh, okay. Yeah, I was watching a video about it. Ironically, somebody just sent me something. And it's very relevant. And then here's the X API key that I got, and I added credits. Okay, let me explain this. So when you're training this thing, let me go to the Airtable, and I got questions and answers. So if a landlord asks a basic question, I ask that with AI, and then I take their basic answer, and then I put it into the answer part. So the question and the answer. Then I take the same training question, and then I input my more thorough DIY landlord answer. And then what my process here is to build this like Airtable with all this data set for, good questions that are like helpful. I'm not going to have questions for like, okay, if a landlord asks the landlord helper chat, hey, what do I do if my tenant wants solar panels? Like, that is a question that I'm not even going to worry about, but there's lots of other stuff. Anyways, where I got to, there's the automations. Where I want to get to right now is the resources that I feed it so it can learn. So I'm testing different things. I have PDFs and I feed it into Grok and I'm like, hey, can you see this? All right, tell me what's wrong with it. What about the font formatting? Is there any issue here? And I found out in my testing that Grok will like see like a dollar sign, or it'll be telling me gibberish because it's not catching the formatting or whatever. There's some kind of disconnect when it tries to read a PDF. So I'm like, all right, now I'm going to need to address that. So I'm asking and trying to figure out, what about this? So when I'm moving the lease over here, and I moved my entire lease template over into this and told Grok, hey, can you see this? Can you read it? Is there any issues? Whatever. Do you understand this clause and that? Now it's able to, scan through this whole thing and read every single bit of text. And then I have very specific, like hands-off DIY landlording unique things in the lease that I want it to understand. So if I go back to the Airtable and I'm giving it a training answer, I'm going to be able to reference the resources and say, hey, in the lease, take a look at how this is listed out. Let me see if I can think of a question real quick to explain this. It's so sloppy right now. I don't even know if you can read some of this text, but one thing that I was working on. Okay, how to prevent maintenance for rental properties. What was I going to use this one for? Define the duties, conduct inspections. Okay, yeah, in the resources, I was also going to say, like, you can provide FAQs. See my, and in the resource, I'm going to have my unbranded YouTube channel with how-to videos. So the answer, if a landlord is like, hey, how do I limit like some of the maintenance problems or whatever, I want to train the agent to respond by saying, obviously you can say good communication or set standards or whatever, but I wanted to also say, check out, you should also provide how-to videos to show to help the tenants understand and know how to do stuff, regular household maintenance. See this YouTube channel. Or I don't know how it's going to respond. Maybe it can cite the specific video that it might be asking about. It would be cool. I don't know. There's lots more to come with that. But right now I'm just building out everything as best I can. And whenever I'm talking about how to prevent the maintenance here, I'm saying, hey, another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add my 12-month resident reminder newsletter in the resources, because when you say send reasonable when you say send seasonal reminders to remind the tenants about seasonal maintenance and stuff, because this is a way to prevent maintenance issues. You got to educate and kind of train the tenant. I could also have these newsletters in here and say, hey, see this example. And I hope that kind of explains a little bit what's going on, but here's where I've been working on. It's a painstakingly horrible process that I already have my forms, and then I have to make a blank form that doesn't have any of my personal information. Because I made everything in PDFs, and that's not good enough. Now I'm transferring all the PDFs into this, and when I copy and paste it, it messes up all the font. So I made the whole lease, and now that's in the resource, and I'm done. And I worked with it and say, hey, if you're an AI, like let's say ChatGPT or Grok, you are going to be scanning through this, and what would be the best way to go about, like, do I put blanks? Will that be easy for you to understand, or should I put brackets? This is that, and I'm trying to figure out. Okay, I don't want it to be too wordy, and like. There's a big learning curve because I'm trying to figure out the best way to feed it this information. Another thing I learned is you want to make sure you compile all your resources in private shareable Google Docs. And so whenever you put it in the Airtable, there are links, and it's easy for the AI agent or whatever you're training to go reference these links that are view only. And it's better to have it all in one spot, because I have a server, and I have a DigitalOcean server, and I have all my PDFs on there, and it's a branded domain for my business. And I thought it'd be cool. Oh, let me just leave the links over there and just tell that. But it's adding a little bit more complexity, and I don't know all the inner workings of AI agents, but I do know they're slow. And I was like, well, how can I make this more efficient in a way that hopefully will not slow it down more? So instead of having PDFs, I decided to like put everything into Google Docs. And then instead of having some stuff stored over here on my server and then some stuff, over here, whatever, I decided to put it all in a Google Drive. So that's another thing I'm learning. And then back to what I was saying about like here, I needed to know that in the addenda, it's got an initials section here, and then early termination. It has a military exclusion in here. If there's ever a question about like, hey, how can you break the lease? I would want to train the AI agent to make sure, obviously, your individual state laws, and I'm not going to try to train it anything like that because those laws are always changing. But I will say, like, don't forget like a military exclusion and know how much you can charge. Like in Florida, we can charge 2 times the rent for breaking the lease early. Mold and mildew and radon was up there and other stuff like that. But there's initial blocks and stuff. So that's part of like letting it know what it's looking at without giving personal stuff. Like here's like email, and I put the brackets contact email, and then portal URL, FAQs, website URL, how-to videos. I probably could have put my YouTube channel, but maybe they have their own, and or they want to share random videos from all over YouTube. But the problem with that is you don't have, like, I don't like the idea of using random videos that might have somebody that's like, hey, subscribe to my channel. They talk too much and they don't really show exactly the best way. They might be doing something a little wrong, and you don't want to be in a tight spot where you're sharing something that is not the best, but it's as close as you can get. So I like the idea is like, hey, I this is how I know how to do it and how I want them to do it. So I'm just going to make it for myself, and then I make it unbranded so other landlords could use it. Maybe in the future, what I was thinking about in the school, this is just an idea, I got to ask people. I was thinking about downloading all the how-to videos because they're unbranded. It does have me doing the instructions and my wife narrating it, but you don't see my face. So I was thinking maybe I can even help the landlords out more and say, hey, here, if you're in the school, I will give you all the downloads and you can upload these all to your own YouTube channel that's branded your way. And then also take some kind of polls and be like, hey, what's the next video we should do? Me and my wife, and then tell them the script. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I'm going to do. Am I missing anything? You guys got any input? Because more of my stuff here in Florida is more like summers, and I kind of don't really do winterizing here. So if I make a video, I would definitely need input from the guys in the community. Say, hey, what exactly am I missing here? And I could demonstrate all the stuff here in Florida. All right, so what time is it? I didn't eat all my dinner, so I'm actually almost hoping nobody gets on today because most people don't get on, and I'm like, all right, there's no pressure. And it's to the point where not many people show up, where it's almost like, I feel like I'm wasting my time, but I need to build the habit. I know it's difficult. It's kind of like a pain right now, but I feel like one day it'll be worth it. And my goal is like just help one person. If I can just help one landlord learn a little bit more, then it's worth it for me, and I get that satisfaction of being useful. And then these videos are up, and my family could see this stuff, how daddy was working hard on something that meant something to him, and he's putting in the effort. So let me see if there's anything else I wanted to share. I think that's everything I got. Actually, what the heck was I doing here? Was there? I'll just quickly show that resident reminder. I built, this home resident guide that's broken down into seasons. And that's a PDF that's attached to every newsletter email I send. But each email newsletter I send has tips for that specific month. So if it's January, it has something to do with winter. And one that I recall that it seems so obvious to me, but it's when people hear it, they're like, oh yeah, that's a good idea. I didn't even think about that. You don't want your tenants having candles. A lot of times it's in the lease, say, hey, you're not allowed to have candles. So I made sure, I think it was Christmas. I did research, and December is the across the U.S. it has the highest house fire occurrences. So I said some nice wording about that because I'm trying to reframe everything so they care. It's like, hey, use candle warmers instead of candles to stay safe, because December is the most risk of house fires or something like that, and it's a one line. I try to make everything one line. Some of them bled over to like 2 line if it's on desktop, and if it's on mobile it might be like 3 lines or whatever. But I was like trying my hardest to reword everything to make it short and concise and be like, why should the tenant care? Why would the tenant want to do anything? They're not going to be doing it because it's going to prolong the life of the appliances, or it's going to prevent backups, clogs. They're not going to do stuff because of that. But right when you say it's going to be for them to save money with utilities, it's going to be for their health, and avoiding, unhealthy backups or, sewage or something. I was using words like that to be like, hey, why should they care? Like, I can't ever say anything like it's because it's in the lease or because it's good for the landlord or the property. I was really challenged to write some of these so they would care. Anyways, that's it for today. I'm going to go finish my dinner and practice my buttons here. Oh, goodness. It's so weird. Like my buttons, I had them all saved, and I think either my son is probably in here. That's what it is. But that's it for me today, and just extended another invite. Anybody wants to join, one of the schools that I got going on, you're welcome to go to foreverlandlord.com, and I'll see you later. Bye.